Well, thank you for joining us. I'm just going to start. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the first peoples of the River Murray, the Nungaraku peoples of the Ngarrindjeri Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today here in Mannum, and pay my respects to elders past and present. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands where others are online meeting today. I acknowledge the contributions and important role that Aboriginal people continue to play within our shared community and pay respect to our cultural authority of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples visiting or attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia. Hopefully everyone can hear and see. Sometimes technology also creates some challenges, so we'll get some feedback if you are. We've got everyone muted, but there's an opportunity if you put your hand up, which you were given some instructions, we'll be able to unmute you and have a conversation or question from there. My camera's not on. Sorry about that. I just got told my camera wasn't on. So now you can see me rather than just being a voice from the dark. Welcome and thank you for coming. Obviously, technology creates some challenges, but we'll try to work through that today. Today is part of our community information sessions. We're doing 5 of these across a few weeks as part of our consultation on our draft strategic plan. I'd like to acknowledge Mayor Bailey, who is on line, and also we have Councillor McGregor, Tochik McPeak, also Councillor Davis, Councillor Barber, and Councillor Schultz. I think I've got everyone from the elected members. If I haven't, I apologise. I can't see everyone's faces or names on my screen. I'd also like to acknowledge we have a number of staff in attendance. We have Dallas Von Wald, who's our Manager, Strategy, Innovation and Governance, Clive Hempel, our Director of Corporate and Financial Services, Dave Hassett, our Director of Infrastructure and Field Services, and Gary Mavrenak, who's our Director of Development and Community, as well as Darren Arvin, who's helping with IT support. So hopefully we can make sure that we get through as quickly as possible. As I said, today forms part of our community consultation on our draft strategic plan. It's part of our process, and it's about listening, but also presenting some information to you. We've had 2 community sessions already, one in Morgan last week and then one in Mannum last night. We have another one in Adelaide on Thursday, and then a couple more in Truro and also Swanreach next week. We're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to give you an overview and presentation. Everyone that was attending today was provided a copy of this draft strategic plan. So after I've done my overview, what we're going to look to do is open up some questions and feedback, and we're trying to identify what's missing, what's included that shouldn't be, in your opinion, but also what's not included that should be, and where council should focus the areas. We have financial challenges, and we need to be making sure that we're prioritising the areas that we are spending money, the community's money, and we need to hear from the community on those priority areas. There'll be an opportunity to ask questions once I finish my presentation, which will go for about 15 minutes. And also Dallas is managing our chat function. And so if you do have a question, put that in. The whole group won't be able to see that question, but Dallas will be able to see it. And then we'll be able to pause and respond to that question. Is everyone okay with that approach for the cameras? If someone can give me a nod, thank you for those people that I can see. So I'm just going to share my screen. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Has that worked for everyone? Yep. So I'm just going to work through a presentation and give you an overview of the current plan. So a snapshot of council, we have a population of 9,415 with 10,574 rateable properties. That population also, that doesn't include what we call non-rateable ratepayers, so people that live outside the council area but have a property, but that's covered in the next icon there. We have 6,000 square kilometres of land, so it's a very large very large geographical area. And 3,383 kilometres of roads, which is the second largest road network in South Australia for any local government area. As you can see, the operating income there is $31.1 million for the last financial year, with an operating expenditure of $34 million. So that highlights that we are currently operating in deficit, which creates challenges. We have a long-term financial plan that we're working towards becoming more sustainable. But at present, the financial restrictions we have make we need to prioritise on where we're spending our money. And we currently have 92 full-time equivalent staff. So again, please put your hand up and someone will let me know that there's a question as I go through. This is our draft strategic plan that we're presenting for feedback and public consultation. It is one part of our strategic our strategic framework. It also includes our long-term financial plan, which ensures that we identify our asset management plans where we need to spend money over those 10 years, 10-year plan. Our strategic plan, which is the one we're considering tonight. An annual business plan and budget. So each year, for example, we have a 4-year strategic planning cycle. Each year we develop an annual business plan and budget to say how we're going to fund and deliver key projects out of that 12-month operational plan. And we also then have an annual report that we will report on annually to say what we're going to do and also how we've gone against what we said we were going to do in the last financial year. This slide just presents our planning horizons. So what I want to point out here, I think my mouse works on the screen, if you can see. Does that work on your screen? Yeah. Yep. So we have a 12-year planning horizon. This is the second lot of 4 years for our strategic plan. So we had one plan that was for 2024, which runs out in June this year. This is the second lot of 4-year planning cycle, which is from 24 to 28. And then we'll do another one from 28 to 2032. But the transformational horizon is that 12 years plus 15, 20 years about where we're going to be as a council and a region post that period of time. Also in that slide, you'll see there's delivery horizons. So each year we have a 12-month operational plan, which then says and demonstrates to staff what we're going to deliver in that 12-month period. We have draft purpose and ambition. And one of the things I might go back a slide. What we've done with this draft plan is we've built on the previous plan, which involved significant consultation and planning back in 2020. So we didn't want to start from scratch. We wanted to build on those foundations. Part of the feedback that we received both internally and externally was there was too much in it. So we have tried to strip it back and prioritise the areas, as you would have seen in your review when we've sent you the document, or if you looked online, was that there's still a lot in there. And so that's why we wanted to make sure that we're understanding from the community what's important, what areas we should be doing, what areas we shouldn't be doing, what's not in there that should be, etc. So we've developed a draft purpose, which we want to work collaboratively to strengthen and enrich our community. So we want to work together with the community and we want it to be better. Our ambition is that we want the region to be prosperous, livable and sustainable. And that sustainability piece is both environmentally, but most importantly, financially as well. So there's multiple ways, which I'll touch on later, for you to provide feedback on the draft plan. But one of the main ones is there's a survey, or you can provide a written submission and you can go online to provide those comments and that feedback. So if you think that purpose ambition resonates, then please let us know. If you think it misses the mark, then also provide that feedback, because we want to listen and we want to hear what the community thinks. So we're not set in stone that that's what we say where we land on our purpose ambition, but we want to hear from the community. So we have 5 themes that we've broken our strategic plan. And when we did our environmental scan, these 5 themes are pretty consistent across local government, both here and interstate, and also in other sectors where we try to capture areas of focus. So our business, our community, our environment, our growth, and our lifestyle. What we've got, and what I'll do now, is I'll just go through broadly those themes and present the intent or the strategic goals in that theme and our focus areas. As you would have seen from the strategic plan, below that sits key activities and also key projects that we're looking to achieve. Today's session is not going to go through all of that level of detail because that's too much. In the face-to-face sessions that we're doing, we do breakout groups and we have conversations for areas of interest on each of those themes. Given the structure of today's session, we're not going to do that, but we encourage you to provide us feedback if we don't cover it tonight in one of those other forums via the survey or written submissions. So our community is the first of our themes, and our overarching intent there is our community is healthy, thriving, engaged, and connected. As I said, each of the themes has a strategic goal, and so in community there's two strategic goals. The first one is that our community is engaged, supported, and connected. And 1.1, 2, and 3 there below are the focus areas. And as I said, there's strategic activities underneath those focus areas. So community wellbeing, community support, and reconciliation are the three focus areas under our community. The second goal is we want our region to have open spaces, facilities to encourage, sport, recreation, and active lifestyles. We want places for people to play, places for people to recreate, walk, trails, etc. And so the focus areas there around community open spaces and facilities. So whether that's football, cricket grounds, netball facilities, other sporting facilities, BMX tracks, etc. there. So they're the focus areas in our community. The second of our themes is our environment, and we want our unique environment to be valued, preserved, and protected for future generations. So we're custodians of our environment for the time we're here. So we want to make sure that what we can control from a council perspective, that we're valuing, preserving, and protecting the environment moving forward. So with our environment, we have 3 goals. So I'll just go through those broadly. The first goal is our natural environment and assets are preserved, protected, and enhanced to ensure enjoyment by future generations. And we've got focus areas in that space being natural environment, open spaces, animal management, and River Murray. Our second goal in our environment is that the council and the community are adapting to climate change through sustainable initiatives. So a focus area on climate adaptation and action, on waste management strategies, and also emergency preparedness. As you would be aware, we've just gone through the most significant natural disaster the state has experienced. So that is about internally being prepared on how we manage and deliver during an emergency, but also how the community is ready. And that's not just about floods, it could be also bushfires and other like natural emergencies or natural disasters. The third goal that we have in our environment is that our built form balances the need for progress with respect for our environment and heritage. Our focus areas under that goal are wastewater management, development policy and planning, and also a built heritage. The next goal we have is growth. We want our region to thrive through opportunities created by economic development, population growth, and tourism. So we have 3 goals under our growth. The first one, we want to support and encourage economic growth. Focus area of strategic planning and partnership. So what other external organisations are we partnering to do everything? One of the things you'll see in the draft plan are roles. So whether we're leading, driving, advocating, partnering, controlling or delivering. And so we can't do everything. So for example, in this space, we might partner with the RDA to help deliver economic growth. We want to have a focus area, we have a draft focus area of business support and also critical infrastructure and technology like roads, telecommunication, connectivity, etc. The second goal, in our growth is population sustainability and growth. So not just population growth, but there's certain areas that we want to make sure the population may just want to be maintained. So it's not just about growth, it's also about sustaining population, if that's what that individual community or area wants. The focus areas in this space is strategic planning and partnerships, livability, incorporating housing and accommodation. As you know, there is a housing crisis in the country and South Australia, and especially in regional South Australia as well. So we want to make sure that we're considering items such as, is there land supply, is there the right zoning, to make sure that we can grow sustainability. And 2.3 is our holiday homes, which holiday homes represent around 36% of our properties in the region, but about 40% of our rate revenue. So a significant stakeholder group. We want to make sure we're working with them to help them achieve what they want to from their time in the region. And our third focus area, goal is support our diverse tourism sector. So focus areas again on strategic planning and partnerships, regional promotion and visitation, maritime and heritage assets, which the region has a significant connection with the river and our boats, and also the dark sky. So I'm mindful I've done a lot of talking. I've only got one more theme to go through, two, and then we can have a conversation and ask any questions. I'm not sure there's any questions come through so far. So our fourth theme is our lifestyle, which is our region is welcoming, vibrant, and a sustainable place to live, work, and play. Goals in our lifestyle, we have three, which is the first one being responsible and sustainable management of the region's assets and infrastructure. And our focus areas there are infrastructure and service delivery framework and infrastructure investment. I won't go through all of these, but this is about delivering efficient and sustainable services that meet our community's needs. So these are the things that council provide. And one piece of feedback that we've had through the first two community sessions is about identifying things that council has to do from legislation and items that are discretionary. And for example, libraries, we have to provide waste and recycling, but we don't have to provide libraries. So, councils across the state and nationally usually fill gaps. For example, health services, that's not a requirement of council, that's a state government service delivery. But in many instances, such as the West Coast, councils, for example, the West Coast, councils get involved in making sure there are health services for the community because the state government just simply doesn't. Another example of that is standpipes. The provision of non-potable water is an SA Water responsibility, but a number of years ago, SA Water gifted standpipes to council and has done other areas as well. And that's something that we do continue to provide. But the questions that we're asking the community is, are there things like that we should be providing or not? Same with libraries and swimming pools, for example. So those items there, focus areas, are the things that we currently provide, services such as road construction, waste recycling, etc. One of the things that stands out from our council is we have a really large geographic area. And so with that, that means we have multiple sites, multiple townships, multiple community organisations, public toilets, cemeteries, all of those things that are replicated, which creates a challenge for a council with a relatively small rate base, but a large expenditure because of some of those geographic challenges. Our third goal in our lifestyle is around our diverse community and regions supported by vibrant and welcoming townships, open spaces, and public realms, with our focus areas being disability access and inclusion plan and open space, township development, and streetscapes and open space. For example, one of the things we know that we don't have across those townships is township plans, and that, as you would have hopefully seen, is identified as something that we want to work at over the next 4 years to make sure that we do have plans. Funding those plans will be the obviously most significant challenge, but at least we know what does a Morgan or what does a Caton or Truro look like in the near future, but also in that transformational horizon as well. Last goal, and then hopefully we can open up for other people to have a chat, so you're not just listening to me speak. And so our business is our last theme. And this is an internal theme to an extent, but we also, as it says there, we want to provide effective leadership to make sure our council is sustainable, innovative, and values our community and dedicated staff. So we have 3 goals there. The first one is to deliver quality outcomes for our community through effective engagement and accountability. So that's where our governance comes in, how our elected members make decisions, and also really importantly, how we communicate and engage. And we know that we can improve and be better in that space. One of the things I've said across the last 2 sessions is without the information, the elected members aren't able to understand what the community wants and what priorities. For example, we did a survey in our rates newsletter back in July, and asked everyone, how do you want us to engage? How do you want to hear from us? We do things on social media. People say, I don't have Facebook, or we do things in the paper or website, or however we do it. And unfortunately, we only had 16 respondents to that survey, and that went to every single ratepayer. So those 10,500 ratepayers that 9,500 ratepayers that we have, and we only got 16 responses. So I'm sure Mayor Bailey, when given the opportunity later on, will say how important it is to provide feedback so we understand how we can communicate with you more effectively. The second goal, is to deliver sustainability. We want to deliver sustainability. We're responsible, accountable, and efficient in operating our business and managing risk. So, strategic financial framework. We want to focus area on external revenue opportunities. We don't want it just to come from rates, but I think around $17 million of our turnover comes from rates, and other forms of grants make up the rest. So, how can we generate additional revenue so we're not so reliant on rates as such? We really want to have customer service as a focus. We want to be customer centric. Again, we acknowledge that we have areas that we can improve, and that's definitely one of them. We want to be efficient in our operations, and we want to look at ways we can improve the way we do our business. We also want to mitigate risk. And our third and last goal in our final theme is around people. We all know that people in any organisation are your greatest asset. So we want our team to be valued. We want to be an employer of choice. So we have focus areas around people and culture, and also our workforce. So I've just got a couple more slides, and then we'll open up for some discussion. So it's a bit more interactive than me just sitting here talking to you guys. So we also want to, and we've drafted items that we can determine whether we've been successful. So firstly, we want to make sure that council is financially sustainable, and we've got improved indicators. So we have a number of ratios that we use to understand how we're tracking financially. So we want to see them improved. We want to, really importantly, we want to make sure the community's wellbeing and social connection is enhanced. Environment's really important for our region. So we want to make sure that our relationship with the River Murray is contributing to a sustainable and healthy river ecosystem. We want to grow our population sustainably, and we believe that we can do that by 10%. That doesn't mean that each township is going to grow by 10%, but there might be opportunities for certain towns to have growth, whereas others we can just sustain that current population. And we also want our regional district to be vibrant and welcoming. The next slide is just an example. When you looked at our strategic or draft strategic plan, as I said, we have themes, then we have strategic goals, focus areas and activities, and then we have key projects. And this is what we want feedback from the community to say, what we've identified is that something that you do want us to prioritise with the limited resources that we do have. So I'm not going to go through, they are colour coded, and just provide you an example of some of the things that we want to focus on. For example, township plans down the bottom there, which I've mentioned previously, or a swim system for Swan Reach and Wangalla to assist growth in those regions. So this is where on our face-to-face, we do a workshop. So what I'm going to do, rather than that, we're going to open up for questions. So we're going to unshare. And hopefully everyone can see the Brady Bunch wall where most people have their cameras off. But this is an opportunity where if you use the function, the action function, I think it is, where you can put your hand up and we can unmute you, or you can just take yourself off, turn your camera on and put your hand up. So this is an opportunity. As I said, we sent out the plan and we want to have some interaction with the group tonight. To understand if you think there's things missing from the plan, you think there's things that are included that shouldn't be, or you want to give us some feedback on areas of focus or priority, then this is the section. Or you want to ask specific questions. As I've said, we've got the key staff from each theme here that may be able to provide you some feedback.
Got a question from Leah. So
yeah. On the chat?
Yeah, no, she would just like to raise her hand. So Leah, if you want to open up your
so if you want to unmute Leah, and if you want to come off mute, or if you don't want to turn your camera on, if you just want to come off mute. Darren's just Darren's just going to take you off mute.
You're not allowing me. Okay, now. Okay, yeah, that took a while to get through. So I just put in the chat your point about us, the 16 people that responded to the survey. That survey wasn't attached as an attachment in the email that got sent out to all the rates. With the rates, it was a little tiny red piece of wording in the right-hand corner, which unless we were directed to click on and open, so that's the reason why you didn't get so many respondents to that survey, is because it wasn't clear. There was no clear instructions that were sent out with the email for email recipients. So it would have been included with the mail, people that got their mail, but the people that got their rates via email didn't get that survey and weren't given instructions on how to access that survey.
Okay. Well, thank you for that feedback, and we'll look into it. My understanding is the electronic version that comes out would have had a link to it where you could have clicked on the link and been able to complete that survey, but yeah, obviously don't have that in front of me, so that's something that feedback will take on, Leah, and we'll look at that in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or commentary that people would like to provide or understand? Another comment on chat?
So Diane Van Eck, if you would like to come online.
Yeah, so Diane, we'll just take you off mute if you want to take yourself, turn your camera on, or just ask your question.
No, you can leave the camera off, that's fine. Thanks very much. I just wanted to commend you on the consultation activities that you're undertaking. I've been involved in the Mount Barker District Council as a Residents Association member for many years, and to have this variety of consultation activities, Zoom in different towns and in the city, is really terrific. So I wanted to start with a positive there. I've looked at a lot of strategic plans in those years, and I guess my main question, and probably more of a comment, and it's obviously still a draft, the first section on our business has got a lot of detail in the key projects, some of it which almost feels like what would fit into an annual business plan rather than a strategic plan. And then when you go further through the document, the projects start to diminish. And so there's not a consistency through the document that indicates the type of projects and the level of projects you're undertaking to meet these strategic objectives. And so some part of it feels a bit like an annual business plan operational document. And that's compounded by the fact that you mentioned before about the importance of items, or whether they have to be done or whether they're discretionary. There's no prioritization of any of those items. And so it's not clear if you're reading this, particularly for the first time, whether you aim to achieve those key projects at the end of the 4-year period. And I guess in the annual business plan, you'd put the elements of each annual activity into that document. And so some of these projects feel like they are not going to be 4-year projects. And so I just think there needs to be a bit of oversight of that delivery of that information, and then a prioritization. And there's one big gap in the, it's in the blue bit, which is our environment. I think it's 1.4, the River Murray. There's no projects at all. So that's sad. Probably just an omission. And you do get fatigue from writing these documents. So I understand that as well. So I just think there needs to be some more consideration of really some key projects and not just annual activities that are going to be incorporated. So you keep this strategic plan at a reasonably high level, because so much is going to change each year. You're kind of putting in a whole bunch of activities that you might not be able to achieve. And so your example there, Ben, when you talked about the township plans for item township development, the main project for that is the township plans for the delivery of those. But you might be specific about which towns you're talking about. You know, is that every town in the council area, or, you know, just several towns? So it's just really more some feedback and commentary on the document and the level of it and the information within it that I'd like to just mention. Thank you.
Have I muted myself? Am I muted myself? No? Can you hear me now? Yeah, sorry, I thought I was on mute there. Thank you, Diane. That's really positive feedback, and yeah, I can absolutely see where you come from, especially from the Our Business section, where there's a lot of detail versus not. So we'll take that feedback on. To answer a couple of your comments, yeah, so some of those items, they're not going to be delivered in a single year. They'll be delivered over the whole 4-year. And some of those could be taken out of, and we could identify them in our annual business planning process to say that we're going to do. But thank you firstly for the positive feedback and also the constructive feedback on the detail in the plan. Anything else on the chat, Dallas, or any other comments? Mayor Bailey, I might just ask Darren to unmute you if you want to make any general comments or provide any feedback.
I just want to thank everyone for coming, and special thanks, because I think all staff are here in this session for all the extra time they've put in. I mean, the last 12 months has been quite horrific in the amount of hours that they've all done, and so to only have a few weeks break over Christmas and then come back and do all these community sessions, it is really, really clear that they do want to help our council area and our community be a better place. Any feedback that you have, we are listening. Please provide it. Elected members find it really hard to make decisions when we're not getting the feedback, and it's really hard for us to then hear after the decision's made what people thought of it. So, you know, we really, especially right now where we are making decisions to determine our financial sustainability, we do want to hear it before. So I really appreciate everyone put in some extra time today to hear about our strategic plan.
Thank you, Mayor Bailey. Do any of the elected members want to make a comment before we see if there's any more questions from the group? If you do, just put your hand up and Darren will unmute you. You don't have to. No one's jumping at that. Are there any other questions from the group? Anything missing? Any other general comments, such as you know, Diane's, or things that we should be included that haven't been, or things that are in there that shouldn't be? If not, and you can still use the chat function, or I'll open up at the end. I'm just going to share my screen again. Talk about next steps. Oops.
I just have Ben is getting his screen organised. So I have some comments from Leah. I'll just listen.
Is that because I share my screen?
Yep.
So, sorry.
It's okay.
Stop sharing.
So Leah agreed with Diane and highlighted that there were no timeframes or accountability, who's responsible, what and when, which is a really very document used to placate the residents. So if you'd like to address that, Ben.
So yeah, we have operational plans that will come out of this, and so each of the 12-month planning documents will have accountabilities on who's responsible, budget, and etc. items like that. So I take your feedback on Leah, but there is significant accountability. We will report to the elected members and to the community regularly once we have identified what the community's priorities are. So yeah, that's a process that we'll go down to the next level. This is obviously just a high level identification of the things that we're going to do, but we'll take that feedback on. Thank you. And no more comments. I'll share my screen again.
You can.
So next steps. There we go. Next steps. So as I said, the consultation process, by legislation and our policy, we only have to consult for 21 days, but we're doing this for in excess of 6 or 7 weeks. So we want to make sure we've got plenty of time for the community to provide feedback. The survey and submissions, which are available online, close on the 23rd of February, so another couple of weeks away. As I said, we're doing community sessions in Morgan, Swan Reach, Truro, Adelaide, Bannerman tonight online. We're also undertaking specific engagement with schools and other communities and stakeholders as part of that process, including our ATSI community and the businesses involved. And we'll then collate all of that feedback for review by council. We've got a number of internal working groups. They will review the feedback and we'll produce a report, what we heard. So each of the sessions, and tonight we're taking notes and people can provide comments, and then we'll provide an overview through that an elected member workshop on what we heard from the community on our draft strategic plan, whether that's via the survey, online submission, or email, written submission that can be posted in, or the community forums that we're doing as part of this process. We then have a workshop from a senior management team perspective, which we will then finalise the draft plan and then present it to council for adoption, hopefully at the April council meeting before the start of the new financial year, when this plan will kick off. So that's everything I wanted to cover tonight. Obviously, during our online sessions, they're a bit more, on our face-to-face sessions, they're a bit more interactive. But again, we'll open up for any questions on the process, anything you want to add or feedback you want to provide. But I really do encourage you to fill out the survey, fill out or provide a written submission. If you can get copies of the survey from council officers, and you can fill it out hard copy. If you don't want to do it electronically, then you can drop that back. You can also get written submission forms online or as well from our any of our officers, and you can talk to your elected members because they're here to listen to what you have to say. So Dallas has just posted a link to the public consultation page on our website in the chat for people's information. So again, I'll give another opportunity if there's any questions or anyone wants to add anything else before we finish up for the session. No, just chat.
Oh, I have one.
Yep.
Okay. I have a question from Mayor Bailey. Would you like to ask that?
It's any time Darren
I
gets
just wanted
comment, Ali.
I just wanted to know if I can put staff on the spot and just ask if there's anything that's come across so far at the Madam and Morgan community sessions that's, you know, similar or relevant that we could just highlight to this group.
Yep. So maybe, Dallas, we might throw to you to give some feedback from the Madam community session.
So from the community section, that pillar, we had feedback regarding community safety and increased CCTV presence, as well as engaging with youth to potentially prevent crime from boredom. So that was something that was a couple of our residents had raised. There was also feedback regarding the airy fairiness and repetition. So that was something that had been raised previously. And we've taken that into consideration to really streamline the document and certainly keep it at a high level. So that's something that we've presented.
We might, I'm not sure, Dave, are you able to, even if you don't have your camera on, we can unmute you? We'll try to do that. While Dave, we're looking for Dave there, maybe Clive, do you want to provide any feedback, high level that you received on our business?
Yeah, so you'll unmute the page for
Just talk. Get me.
So probably there was probably a high acceptance of my particular section of our business, probably just in the risk reduction where we had items pertaining to employees, volunteers, and visitors. There was a bit of an extension where we should ensure that we're looking after our residents when we ever got a working environment, such on the roads, etc. And one of the issues we brought up, for example, was dust in our work sites.
Dave, you're off mute there. If you want to give any themes that you heard via Morgan and or Madam.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Basically, through the lifestyle theme, there was a lot about operational matters, probably a few historical matters that have been involved with, and obviously a keen sense from the community about what the plan is going to deliver in regards to infrastructure and how that's going to look. It did get down to very operational matters, but I think that the plan sort of covers off on infrastructure and asset management plans and service levels. So hopefully the plan will cover that through.
Thank you. From our growth section of our business, Mayor Bailey, there was questions around deliverability. Can we deliver? There is a lot in there. There was comments that it's a very corporate plan versus that there is it's a very good plan. There was tourism was interesting because we've had feedback that council shouldn't invest in tourism. And then there was a flip side of that we should be investing in it. There was also a discussion on events. Currently, the plan says that council will support events in the region, versus there was feedback to say that we should be more proactive in attracting events like a Sounds by the River to other parts of the region as well. But that's why it's good, because we're getting difference of opinion, and that way we can present all of that information to the council for their consideration. The other comment, we've had a couple of comments on community engagement and ways that we can do that. To some that were completely left field, that we should run all of our community engagement through the dumps, because that's where everyone goes. So we should make sure that we're using our dumps as a conduit for community engagement, which I thought was quite interesting from a left field perspective. But also, as been mentioned, is how can we improve our communication and do that. We've had conversations around community assets. So we've got 206 buildings and community assets, and so how council is able to manage that. And the other probably general comment is around our sustainability, which is a significant focus for council and is well represented throughout the plan. I'm not sure if Gary is online. Is he? Go. Might have been via phone. So yeah, I can't comment on our environment, Mayor Bailey. But thank you for that question without notice. All right, are there any other questions or comments that have come up? Dallas?
So I've just directly responded to a couple.
You might have picked up that a few of us are in the same room, so when we look left, that's because we're looking at the person to the other side rather than the screen. But if there's no other questions or comments? Not at this stage? Well, thank you very much for your attendance. Hopefully it's been informative. I really encourage you to look at the detail. You can contact the council if you've got any specific areas of interest around those themes. On our face-to-face, as I said, we do a breakout session, and each of the team leaders for those themes have a conversation. So if you want to talk about our theme, you can, our business, you can reach out to Clive. If you want to speak to our lifestyle, Dave Hassett can have a conversation with you about that and take some feedback. Community can either be Dallas, who's here tonight, or Nat Davis. And our growth, they can be directed to me. I think I've covered, and our environment to Gary Mavernack, our Director of Development and Community. So if there's no other questions, thank you for your time and your feedback. Hopefully it's been informative, and please provide us feedback through those other means. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.